Hello, guys. Welcome to the podcast, The Journey of the Top 1% Entrepreneur. Today, we are having a great speaker, Moe Abbassi, here. He's the founder of Entrepreneur 2.0, teaching entrepreneur how to experience less stress, less anxiety. Who doesn't have stress nowadays, man? Come on. Less stress, less anxiety, how to get rid of bad habit, and how to accomplish more so that you can be consistent, confident, certain, and clear on the strategy that you might already have. So, welcome to the show, Moe Abbassi.
If you are like me, always wanted to know how on earth those successful entrepreneurs and business owners made it, how they have been able to sell millions of dollars every single year. They all have made it big, despite the fact that they all have different backgrounds, knowledge, and expertise. Yet they all made it from scratch and they all made it big. I'm talking about the 6, 7, 8, and even 9-figure businesses. And this exactly what we're going to find out in this podcast. How they started out and how they think and what their journey looks like. And most importantly, how we can learn from them in the first place. So welcome to the journey of the top 1% entrepreneurs.
Excited to be here, man. Good to talk to you again. Always a good conversation. So happy to be
Yeah,
here,
so
man.
great, man. I want to say sorry because this interview has to be 3 weeks ago, but I got COVID on my birthday. And I
Right.
give it to my daughter. I give it to my daughter. I'm sorry, Baba. I'm sorry. I give it to my daughter. I give it to my wife. And man, it was a hell of 3 weeks. But anyway, now we're here. Canadian in the house. So welcome. I really appreciate you joining today. And I want to start with your story, brother. Like you build a multiple business, six figure business. Bah, 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 bah. Come on. You build a multiple six-figure businesses and you transition to help entrepreneur with this anxiety, mental toughness, and what's your backstory and how you actually help those entrepreneurs?
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks for having me on, first of all. It's always good to be here, have a conversation with you. I know last time we kind of dove deep on these topics and it was fun, man. It got me to thinking. So thanks for having me here. Yeah, my background's pretty simple. I started in the online business space because at first I had dating problems, and so I wanted to fix that. I went on a long journey to learn how to socialize properly with people, learn how to lower my social anxiety, and essentially become a dating coach. And I traveled all over the world. I traveled to over 20 countries, served hundreds of clients, did seminars, um, had thousands and thousands of views online. So it was a fun experience. But as I built that first business up, I got it to multiple six figures, doing anywhere from 30 to 50K a month.
Wow.
Um, I was still feeling like I wasn't good enough. I was still depressed. I was waking up feeling anxious. I had two panic attacks that led me to the hospital in less than a year. And I was just confused. I was like, I thought if I have more money and if I make more money, it's going to solve my problems. I'm going to be able to be happier. I'm going to have be more fulfilled. I'm going to have the lifestyle I want. But the truth is it just accentuated who I already was. It accentuated the problems I already had inside. And so I felt more anxious. I felt more stressed. I felt more depressed. My relationships were rocky. Everything in my life was starting to crumble, even though I had money. And so I thought it was the business, and I got rid of that business. I started a second business after that. It was a product launch agency. So we would like team up with influencers, people who had big audiences, and we would just do like a Jeff Walker style kind of launch. And I quickly, within the first launch we did, it was like $80,000. And I was like, okay, this is good. And I got that to multiple six figures. And I still felt like crap. I still was waking up anxious. I still was waking up depressed. I was still waking up unfulfilled. And, you could travel and do all of these things, but it's just distractions. You come back and you're still the same person. And so at some point, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to figure this out. And I went on a long 2-year journey, did all forms of therapy, did all forms of coaching, certification, worked with really like high level doctors, had them even on my podcast and stuff. Like guys like Dr. Robert Glover, Dr. David Buss, Dr. Michael Pariser, and just learning from them to figure out what the hell was going on in my mind so that I can overcome this problem. And I'm glad to say that over the last few years, I haven't had a single anxiety or panic attack.
Amazing.
Feeling fulfilled, waking up happy, doing the things that I really love.
Amazing. Now, what a story, brother. What a story. So, just for everybody to understand, you had money. You were
Yeah,
making 50K a month.
yeah,
Man. So everybody think like if you're making 50 to 100K a month, that's it. The confidence will come. You will feel happier, but you say the opposite. So what was the problem? Like why you were not feeling good enough? Like what's the main problem? What did you discover in that journey? What was the main issue there?
yeah. I realize that money solves money problems. So, and you hear this often, right? But when you're broke, you're like, no, I think if I make money, I'm going to be happier. And soon enough, I found out like money just solves money problems. Like I didn't have to worry about my rent anymore. I didn't have to worry about debts, which is a good feeling. That in itself is very anxiety ridden, right? That is, you don't want to be in a state of scarcity, but it doesn't solve deeper issues. I've dealt with a lot of traumas in my life. Like I grew up in a household where I was constantly seeing violence, like just daily mental or physical abuse. Um, I was bullied pretty much all my years of school. I felt like an outsider all the time. So I've dealt with a lot of traumas in my life. And those things caused me to be in a state of panic no matter what I had or what I didn't have in my life. I was just constantly in a state of anxiety. I was constantly in a state of stress. I was constantly in a state of not feeling like I was good enough, that I had to reach something else in order to finally feel fulfilled. And so when I did, my first hypothesis was if I make a lot of money, it's going to get rid of those problems. But then once I made it, I realized, yeah, this just solves money problems. It doesn't solve inner wounds. It doesn't solve your inner issues.
Huh, man, this is interesting. Like I kind of have this similar experience. Like I didn't grow up in the United States. I grew up in Jordan, and like not I wouldn't say dysfunctional family, but there is drama, there is yelling inside our house, there's a lot of things. And I was working my ass off to build business and to be the best engineer. So I got a job at Amazon, and I as soon as I got a job at Amazon, I went to they have like amazing huge buildings. So I went to the top floor. I look at the view, was so nice. I see the water there, and immediately I felt unhappy. It was like, you made it. You've been working your ass off for the last 6 years to get this opportunity, and you finally did it. Why are you feeling happy? And like I start reading Brian Tracy about like how to change your thinking, how to change your mind. This is an amazing story, but I want to dive deep into like fear, like why entrepreneur have this fear, and like whether it's a feel of failure or feel of success, and how you can eliminate those, like how we can fix those. Like most of the people, they said I have feel of failure, but actually what it
Yeah.
is, and yeah. So if you can dive deep on that.
Yeah. Well, fear of failure and fear of success um, are two different things, but it's still anxiety. That's what it comes down to, is being in a state of panic, in a state of anxiety. Fear of failure is just you know, projecting into the future with your thoughts that things aren't going to go your way. And this usually stems from whether it's childhood traumas or traumas that you've endured, where you felt like no matter what you achieved, it wasn't good enough. So this is kind of like if you got an A and your parents were like, well, why didn't you get A plus? Well, that starts to wire your brain to think that no matter what you achieve, what you have is never going to be good enough. And therefore, you're deemed as a failure. Therefore, the fear of failure is more so not so much the failure itself, because if you live in a first world country and you quote unquote fail, you're still probably going to survive. You're still probably going to be okay. It's very hard to actually become like the worst case scenario, like homeless and you'll never have a home and so on and so forth. So for most people, the fear of failure is irrational, and it's really just the fear of not being good enough or not having external validation from the people that you look up to the most. One of my good buddies, who's also my video editor, he recently stopped video editing, and he told me, he's like, man, I did a MDMA assisted therapy. And when he did the MDMA assisted therapy, he realized he actually doesn't want to be an entrepreneur. He realized the only reason he was trying to be an entrepreneur was to fit in with his friends, was to make all of this money so other people can say, man, you're doing a good job, the same thing that I'm doing. And so this constant state of fear of failure is usually stemming from wanting that external validation from other people. Now, if you've also had traumas in your life where you felt like you were in a survival state most of the time, whether that's living in scarcity, right? So you didn't have enough food to eat, or your parents didn't have enough money to put clothes on your back, or you maybe have been abused where you felt like you needed to survive, then those mechanisms are going to come up future on as well. So while you're trying to build your business, you're going to start to have those thoughts of fear or thoughts of failure as well. So it's usually stemming from either external validation for fear of failure, or if you've been in a survival state very often.
But like, how come is that true? Because like, if you making like, if somebody make 50,000 a month, they will not feel of they're gonna lose it all, or look, I'm mistaken right now. I like how to explain this. So basically, if you feel like, if I'm making a lot of money, I'm not gonna feel that I'm not gonna put my clothes on. I'm not gonna feel like, hey, I have a fear of not making enough money to feed my daughter. That this is not true. Exactly, 100%. But like, it still trigger you some way.
Yeah.
How? And how you can like, basically everything comes from the thought. So what I have learned so far, if you control your thought, you control the outcome, because the thought generated, like, if you think about negative thought or positive thoughts, actually from the thought will be, your mind will start generating pictures and image, and from that picture and image you will start producing ideas, and that ideas will give you feeling, and that feeling um, will give you the ability to either take action or not take action, and then that will determine the outcome. So like, how to control the thought, because at the end of the day it's just a thought, right? At the end of the day it's just a thought, it's a negative thought, and you like, you feel that like you have this fear, but it's actually is a thought, like.
Yeah. So I mean, fear of failure is not rational, right? Like you could be making a lot of money but still have the fear of failure, because fear of failure is subjective. It's like you could be making 50K a month, but your benchmark is that if you don't get to a million a month, you're a failure, right? And you won't be able to live your life. Or you could be making 50K 1 month, and then all you're worried about is whether you're going to make it again the next month.
Okay.
And so fear of failure is not logical. It's not rational. It's usually because of your nervous system telling you, hey, we need to freak out because of these previous things that have happened in your life. And we have to be on edge. So the truth is, if you want to stop this feeling of fear of failure, it's not so much stopping the thoughts or controlling your thoughts. Controlling your thoughts are really difficult. And I'm sure you've experienced this where you have a random thought that you're like, why did I have that thought? Because thoughts just come and go. It's kind of random. It's part of your brain wiring. The way that you actually control this fear of failure to not allow it to stop you from taking action or moving forward in your business and so on and so forth is to be able to actually control your nervous system, is to rewire your nervous system, because there's a part of your brain. It's called the amygdala. It's the intrinsic part of your brain, the reptilian part of your brain that's telling you, hey, we need to freak the fuck out right now. Okay, we need to like be on edge. And usually this stems from an overactive amygdala, which comes from previous traumas. So if we can have a daily practice, meditation is a great one, of course. I don't think meditation is going to necessarily solve it. Hypnotherapy is great. These are tools that you can use on a daily basis to control your nervous system and bring your nervous system back down to a normal, I feel calm state. And when you do this regularly, you retrain your nervous system to not be in that anxious state where you're constantly thinking, oh crap, I'm going to fail. I'm not going to make it. Where am I going to get my next customer? Should I do this because I need to hold on to money? So on and so forth, which usually stems from that anxious, anxiety, panic state feeling.
And that will mess up the decision making. Like
Yeah.
most of the time, you want to make a decision. Like, for example, right now, I really want to quit my job and focus 100% on my business, but I I don't have the balls to do it, man. I don't have the courage to just like wake up in the morning, quit my job, and just focus 100% on my business. But like that will, and then the negative thoughts and the unable to make a decision fast enough because you're overthinking about whether it's a good decision or a bad decision, that will lead us to inconsistency. Sometimes you feel
Yeah.
like, man, like, can we talk about inconsistency? Because I know there's a lot of people who start a business and they start like, hey, I know this idea will work. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know a lot about marketing. I know a lot about sales. I know what I'm doing. After 3, 6 months, they didn't hit their goal. They start going down. They start going down. And take them another 6 months to just, you know, break out of that freaking habit and depression, and they start over again. Like, can we talk about inconsistency for a
Yeah.
second?
Yeah. To me, inconsistency is more so self-sabotage. It's a form of self-sabotage. I've dealt with this as well. Um, you have to attack it twofold. There's the tactical and then there's the mindset issue. The tactical is making sure that any tasks that you have, whether it's on your calendar, it's very specific. It's not like a big block where you're just like, and I did this recently myself. This is a personal example where on my calendar, I had a big block where it said record videos, record content. But because it's not specific, my brain goes, holy crap, that's a huge step. That means I have to set up the camera. I have to stand behind the camera. I have to set up the mic. I have to record the first video. I have to script the first video, then the second, then third, fourth, five. And it's just this huge step in your brain. When you have this huge, massive step in your brain and you're not in a state of momentum, your brain shuts down. It tells you, dude, like, we're not going to do this. This is too big of a step. It's like if I told you right now, you're hanging out in your living room, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna go to the top of the CN Tower, and then we're gonna bungee jump. And you're in a calm state. You're just hanging out in your living room. That step would be terrifying. You wouldn't want to do it. You'd be like, dude, I'm not freaking doing that. I'm not gonna jump off the CN Tower. But what if I told you, hey, why don't we get off the couch? You're gonna get off the couch. Why don't we just walk to the CN Tower? You're gonna walk to it. Why don't we just get in the elevator and go 1 floor up, then 2 floors up, then 3 floors up, then 4 floors up, and then eventually we're at the top of the CN Tower, and we're pretty much all the way there. And so, any steps that you have, if you want to create consistency, and this is what I did on my calendar, the next day, instead of writing down record content, and it was just a big freaking huge step, I wrote down set up the camera. Then on my calendar, I had script the first video, script the first point of the first video, script the second point of the first video, script the third point of the first. And so I chunked it down into these tiny steps that were doable. Because if I just had record content, there's a lot of steps that comes with record content. And my brain goes, I don't want to do all of those steps at once. But if I just write down, get behind the camera, well, I can do that. And if I don't want to continue the second step, I don't have to, but at least I took the step of the first thing. And usually when you take that first step, you're going to want to continue on to the second one and the third one and the fourth one and the fifth one. So that's the tactical side of it, to kind of trick your brain into doing it. This is something called exposure therapy, right? They'll do this with horses. If they want to take a horse on a what's it called, on the highway, what they'll do is they won't all of a sudden take it from the barn to the highway if it has never been on the highway before, because the horse freaks out. It's going to throw the cart off. Then it's going to cause a major crash. What you do with the horse is you tie it every single day closer and closer to the highway until it's not freaking out and it's used to being on the highway, and then you take the horse on the highway. So the same thing with your tactics you have to do as well. But then we also have the mindset issue of inconsistency, which is usually what I think is self-sabotage. I recently created like a full 1 hour training on this that I just put outside to my audience. So if anybody wants it, they can go check it out. Maybe I can send it to you and you can send it
We'll
to your.
put the link down below. Yep.
Yeah. But the gist of it is that usually what happens is we will not rise to our aspirations. We will fall to our standards. We will fall to what we truly believe we're worth. And if your self-worth, your sense of self-worth is, I don't deserve to have a certain amount of money or have a certain amount of income or have a certain business, no matter how much you desire it, your identity is always going to bring you back down to what you truly believe you're worth. And again, what you truly believe you're worth usually stems from conversations and patterns of conversation that you've had with your loved ones, with your parents, with your upbringing, with your teachers, with your friends that are around you, which is why I always tell people it's super important to surround yourself with people who are doing better than you, because then your influence is going to be people who are rising and you're not going to want to stay at that same identity level that you're at. So usually it depends. It could be a tactical issue where you just simply need to chunk things down and not overwhelm yourself, or it could be a deeper identity work issue, and that's a whole different conversation.
Man, this like endless dive deep. Like each question will, we need like 1 hour sometimes to
Yeah.
dive deep in there, man. This is a lot of knowledge. But like this is exactly happened to me yesterday. Like I had whiteboard, I have like a lot of sticky notes, like big sticky notes on the wall, and I drew everything out. And I was like, man, I am just repeating myself over and over again. Like I'm stressing out. So what I did, I went to Jira. There's a Jira software, and I list down all the freaking steps, small pieces, like 5 minute step, and just like now I'm looking at one step at a time, as you exactly you said. And if you know the 5 second rule for by Mel Robin,
Yeah.
she has like yeah, she explained amazing things about like do 5 second like do small things and do like 1 2 3 4 and to rewind your brain and stay focused. But is that also build up the momentum like the same way we're talking about small section of small action each time, and then that's why you build your momentum and you go either more and more.
Yeah. When I was in the dating world, I used to teach my clients, don't go up and tell a girl hi and try to get her number. Because if you've never done it before, you're going to freak out and
Yeah,
then you're going to feel weird and then you're going to leave the interaction and you're going to be like, I never want to do that again.
correct.
The first step is to just be able to walk around in public and feel comfortable in your own skin. Then the second step is to maybe give people eye contact for 1 second, then 2 seconds, then 3 seconds, then 4 seconds, then 5 seconds. Then maybe doing eye contact and simply just saying hi as you walk by. And so the more we small chunk it, the more that your nervous system gets used to that level of discomfort. And the next level of discomfort is going to be easy to get to. This is what I was talking about in terms of exposure therapy, right? And you're going to want to continue on because you're providing your brain with that dopamine pleasure of like, oh, I just accomplished this thing that was slightly difficult, but it was doable. And then your brain wants more. Your brain wants the next thing that is slightly difficult, but doable so that you can get that same dopamine rush.
That's exactly what I'm doing with the speaking thing.
Yeah.
uh, the first time I went to stage, it was so freaking difficult. That's why we're having this conversation. Like, it's like train your brain. Like, it's okay. You're nervous. It's fine. Just like small iteration. But man, this is amazing information, and thank you so much for having,
Of course.
for being here. But I want to talk about two things very quick. Um, One thing that really bothers everybody, and I see a lot of my friend doing it and myself. I was doing it a lot of time, but it's so hard to control it, which is comparing myself to to a successful person. For example, Alex Hermosi, man, I love you, Alex Hermosi, but fuck you, man, who you are. Like this guy, by the way, the same age as me. I'm 33 years old. And by the way, we both were sleeping in the dining area, and both were in California 2013, and we both were taking a shower in LA Fitness. And the same story, but look where I am and look where he is. I love this dude. I watch him all the time, and hopefully one day I'll bring him to the show. But I stop myself all the time. I was like, man, don't compare yourself. But it's really hard to do, and that lead me to talk negative about myself, like
Yeah.
blaming myself. Like, can we dive a little bit about that?
Yeah, comparison syndrome is actually kind of helpful. When it comes to evolutionary psychology, the reason why we compare ourselves is because we actually want to increase status. So when you look at someone like Alex Hormozy and you compare yourself, you're like, crap, this guy's so much further than me. I got to get to work. And it actually helps you increase your status in that tribe mentality that we still are wired to have. But the problem comes down to is when we have unhealthy comparison, usually stemming from again childhood traumas where our parents or our guardians or our teachers said, oh, you got B plus, Timmy over there got A plus. And so you never feel good enough, and it actually debilitates you. You don't want to take action because you're not getting that dopamine reward of doing a good job. You're
Exactly.
getting you're getting pain. You're getting emotional pain for doing a good job. So you're essentially getting punished for doing something that was good. And so now, instead of comparing yourself and pushing yourself higher in terms of status, which is what we're naturally bound to do, you compare yourself and immediately feel punishment, that same emotion that you felt when you were younger. The easiest thing I tell a lot of people to do, if they don't want to go deep into that inner work and really solve those inner wounds, just delete social media. Like, get rid of Instagram, get rid of Facebook, get rid of Twitter, get rid of all of these places that you compare yourself with other people. And do that for 7 days. Just 7 days. Go on a 7-day
Yeah.
no social media challenge. If social media is required for your business, hire a VA to do all of the tasks that you do, and then just go 7 days without it. When I get some of my clients to do this, as simple as getting away from social media, within 7 days, their state will increase anywhere from 10 to 30%. And we track this all, 10 to 30%. So let's say they are, even one of my clients recently I had a call with, his was 6%. So he went from, on average, feeling a 6.2 to a 6.6, which may not seem like much. It's like, oh, it's just 6% difference in 1 week. But if in 7 days we can incrementally increase your average state by 0.4, imagine what another 7 days will do, and another 7 days, and another 7 days. And a month later, you're going to be up in the 7s and 8s in terms of your emotional state. Now, if you're in the 6s and 5s and 4s in terms of your emotional state, it's a very debilitating state to be in. You don't want to take action. You don't want to do anything. You want to procrastinate. You want to just sit and sulk and feel bad about yourself. But when you're feeling good, you're feeling 7, 8, 9, 10. You want to do stuff. You're inspired to create. And so the easiest thing that people can do, 7-day challenge, get away from social media, all social media. We're talking Netflix, we're talking video games, we're talking Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, whatever you use, Twitter.
Wow.
Get away from absolutely everything for 7 days. And I can guarantee you, if you track every single day how you are on a scale of 1 to 10, you're going to notice the first week with social media, it's going to be a few points down. Second week without social media, it's immediately going to go up.
Why 7 days though? That's really interesting. But why 7 days?
Small, this is what we talked about, doing something that's uncomfortable but doable. If I told you do it for the next 1 year, that's going to feel extremely uncomfortable.
I'll say, F you, I'm not going to do it.
Exactly. But 7 days is doable. Everybody can do 7 days. Everybody can do a week. And then after the week, you feel so incredible, you don't want to go back. You're like, how can I get my VA to do this forever for me so I don't ever use social media?
Wow. And you have a software to track the energy up and down?
It's software. It's an app. Anybody can download this. It's called iMood Journal. Okay, it's like $3 one-time payment. Okay. And you can track your daily state in terms of how you feel. It's going to give you your average for the week, average for the month, and also your total. You can see how it increases over time. You can see what makes you feel bad and what makes you feel good. So it'll show you the patterns of like different geographical locations, different people that you're around, what you're doing, what you're feeling when you journal it. You can even take photos while you're doing it. So it's going to give you a lot of data to actually see what makes me feel good and what makes me feel bad, so I can remove what makes me feel bad and increase what makes me feel good.
So that you can have energy, so that can you do the action to get the
Exactly.
outcome that you desire.
Exactly. Yep.
I wish we have another a day, not 1 hour with you, man. It's so valuable information. Before we wrap this up, do you want to add anything else to the audience, and where they can find you most importantly?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. It's just my name, as you can see at the bottom, MoeAbbassi. And yeah, I'll just send you the link to the training. You can send it to your audience, and if they want to learn how to stop their self-sabotaging habits, thoughts, emotions, it's a whole 1 hour. Like it's not a webinar. They can actually go through it. There's exercises that you do in it, and yeah, hopefully that helps.
And thank you so much for coming here and provide this value. And next week, guys, we're going to interview Amanda. She has a book, The Ultimate Sales Machine. So until then, we'll see you then. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much for having me, man.